In this episode, we will be discussing the World Bank Group. Let us begin with a brief introduction of the World Bank Group. The World Bank Group is a unique global partnership of 5 institutions working for sustainable solutions that reduce poverty and build shared prosperity in developing countries. The World Bank Group is one of the world's largest sources of funding and knowledge for developing countries. The 5 institutions in the World Bank Group are the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, or the IBRD, the International Development Association, or the IDA, the International Finance Corporation, or the IFC, the Multilateral Guarantee Agency, or the MIGA, and the last, the International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes, or the ICSID. Together, the IBRD and IDA form the World Bank, which provides assistance to governments of developing countries, while the IFC, MIGA, and the ICSID focus on strengthening the private sector in developing countries. Collectively, the goals of the World Bank Group are to promote international economic cooperation, to rebuild post-World War II economy, decreasing the percentage of people living on less than $1.9 a day to no more than 3%, promoting shared prosperity by fostering the income growth of the bottom 40% of every country by 2030. The World Bank is headquartered in Washington, D.C., USA. Now focusing on the genesis and history of the World Bank. The World Bank came into existence as the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, or the IBRD, in 1944 at the Bretton Woods Conference, officially known as the United Nations Monetary and Financial Conference, held in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, USA. This conference agreed upon a series of new rules for international financial and monetary order after the conclusion of the World War II. The conference also resulted in the establishment of the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF, which, along with IBRD, later called as the World Bank, together are referred to as the Bretton Woods Twins. Originally, loans by the IBRD helped rebuild countries devastated by the World War II. In time, the focus shifted from reconstruction to development, with a heavy emphasis on infrastructure such as dams, electrical grids, irrigation systems, and roads. The IBRD has expanded to a closely associated group of 5 development institutions, as were mentioned earlier. These are the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development in 1944, the International Finance Corporation in 1956, International Development Association in 1960, International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes founded in 1966, and finally the Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency was founded in 1988. To become a member of World Bank Group, a country should fulfill the following criteria. Number 1, the country must first join the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF. Secondly, membership in IDA, IFC, and MIGA are conditional on membership in IBRD. Thirdly, membership in ICSID is available to IBRD members and those which are party to the Statute of International Court of Justice. Now let us discuss each of the 5 institutions of the World Bank Group in detail. Focusing first on International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, that is the IBRD first. IBRD was established in 1944 and is commonly known as the World Bank. It is led by the President of the World Bank, followed by the Board of Governors. The Board of Governors consists of 1 governor and 1 alternate governor appointed by each country. The office is usually held by the country's Minister of Finance, Governor of its central bank, or a senior official of similar rank. The governors and alternates serve for terms of 5 years and can be reappointed. Let's look at the voting powers. Each member receives votes consisting of share votes, that is, one vote for each share of bank's capital stock held by the member, plus basic votes, calculated so that the sum of all basic votes is equal to 5.55% of the sum of basic votes and share votes for all members. India is the founding member of IBRD. It has total of 189 members. IBRD raises most of its funds in the world's financial markets. It offers long-term loans to middle-income developing countries to promote economic development and eradicate poverty. Some of its focus areas are roads and highways, rural credit, energy, urban infrastructure including water and sanitation, as well as disaster management and financial services sector. Now shifting to International Development Association or the IDA. It was established in 1960 with an aim to reduce poverty by providing loans called credits to the world's poorest countries. It supports a range of development activities such as primary education, basic health services, etc. It has 173 members as shareholders. India is again a founding member of IDA. IDA lends money on concessional terms, often referred to as the soft loan window, as it provides practically interest-free money and for longer periods. To borrow from the IDA's concessional lending program, a country's gross national income per capita must not increase USD of 1145 as per the fiscal year of 2019. IDA provides significant levels of debt relief through the Heavily Indebted Poor Countries Initiative and the Multilateral Debt Relief Initiative. Shifting focus to International Finance Cooperation or the IFC. It was established in 1956. It is the largest global development institution focused exclusively on private sector in developing countries. It has 184 members and India is a founding member. It raises funds through the issuance of debt obligations in international capital markets. It stimulates conditions conducive to the flow of private capital, domestic as well as foreign, into productive investments in its member countries. India has IFC's largest portfolio exposure of nearly $4.7 billion. Its focus areas are investment services consisting of loans, equity, trade finance, syndicated loans, structured and securitized finance, client risk management services, treasury services, and liquidity management. Now focusing on Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency, that is the MIGA. MIGA was established in 1988. It provides guarantees to investors in developing countries against political and non-commercial risks like currency inconvertibility, war, terrorism, and civil disturbance, etc. It has 181 members and aims to promote foreign direct investment into developing countries to support economic growth and reduce poverty. India became its member in 1994. The International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes is the last and fifth institution of the World Bank Group, which we will be discussing now. It was established in 1966 by the Convention on the Settlement of Investment Disputes between States and Nationals of other states. This is commonly referred to as the ICSID Convention. It has 161 members. It settles investment disputes between investors and countries by conciliation, arbitration, or fact-finding. India is not a member of it. Moving towards analyzing the relationship of World Bank with India. India was one of the signatories at the Bretton Woods Conference that established the IBRD. IBRD lending to India commenced in 1949 with a loan to the Indian Railways. During the 1950s, the IBRD was India's sole source of World Bank borrowings. During the 1960s and 70s, India was the largest recipient of IDA funds, accounting for more than 2/5 of all its lending. India is currently classified as a blend country, defined as one in transition from lower middle income to middle income. The World Bank Group has approved a $25 to $30 billion commitment plan for India for the period 2019 to 22. Another important concept with regards to the World Bank Group is the Washington Consensus. The World Bank and the IMF often attach loan conditionalities based on what is termed as the Washington Consensus, that focuses on liberalization of trade, investment, and the financial sector, deregulation and privatization of nationalized industries. Apart from the financial activities including loan grants, etc., the World Bank undertakes a number of studies and publishes several reports, such as the Ease of Doing Business, World Development Report, Global Economic Prospects Report, Remittance Report, Ease of Living Index, and the Global Monitoring Report. Despite all the achievements of World Bank Group, the system faces criticism on the following points. The World Bank Group allows the largest shareholders to dominate its voting, which results in the World Bank Group policies being decided by the rich but implemented by the poor. The president of the World Bank comes from the largest shareholder, that is USA. Thus, the developing countries don't have representation at leadership level despite being beneficiaries. This results in policies that are not in the best interest of the developing countries receiving assistance, whose political, social, and economic policy will often have to be molded around the World Bank Group resolutions. Moreover, the World Bank Group is also often accused of ignoring the environmental and social impact of projects it supports. Although the World Bank's loans are intended to help countries, they also cause those same countries to take on debt that they must pay interest on and remain under the conditions of the institution. There have also been instances of violation of their articles of agreement wherein political issues have influenced lending policies. For example, the World Bank denied India fresh loans after India had tested nuclear weapons in 1998. Loan and grants given by the World Bank with conditionalities like liberalization of trade, investment, and privatization of nationalized industries is not always feasible for developing countries at times.
To watch our videos, in this episode, we will be discussing the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, or SAARC. Let's begin with a brief introduction. SAARC comprises of 8 member states: Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. There are currently 9 observers to SAARC, namely Australia, China, European Union, Iran, Japan, Republic of Korea, Mauritius, Myanmar, and the United States of America. The headquarters and secretariat of the association are at Kathmandu, Nepal. The SAARC comprises around 3% of the world's area, 21% of the world's population, and 4.21% of the global economy as of 2019. Now, focusing on the genesis and related timeline for the formation of SAARC. The idea of regional cooperation in South Asia was first raised in November 1980. After consultations, the foreign secretaries of the 7 founding countries, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka, met for the first time in Colombo in April 1981. SAARC was established with the signing of the SAARC Charter in Dhaka, Bangladesh in December 1985. Afghanistan became the newest member of SAARC at the 13th Annual Summit in 2005. Now let's discuss the principles of the SAARC. Cooperation within the framework of SAARC shall be based on respect for the principles of sovereign equality, territorial integrity, political independence, non-interference in the internal affairs of other states, and mutual benefit. Such cooperation shall not be a substitute for bilateral and multilateral cooperation, but shall complement them. Such cooperation shall not be inconsistent with bilateral and multilateral obligations. The areas of cooperation comprise human resource development and tourism, agriculture and rural development, environment, natural disasters and biotechnology, economic, trade and finance, social affairs, information and poverty alleviation, energy, transport, science and technology, education, security and culture, and others. Now let's focus on the objectives of the SAARC. To promote the welfare of the people of South Asia and to promote their quality of life. To accelerate economic growth, social progress, and cultural development in the region, and to provide all individuals the opportunity to live in dignity and to realize their full potential. To promote and strengthen collective self-reliance among the countries of South Asia. To contribute to mutual trust, understanding, and appreciation of one another's problems. To promote active collaboration and mutual assistance in the economic, social, cultural, technical, and scientific fields. To strengthen cooperation with other developing countries. To strengthen cooperation among themselves in international forums on matters of common interest, and to cooperate with international and regional organizations with similar aims and purposes. Now let's shift our focus to the principal organs of SAARC. Meeting of heads of state or government at the summit level, usually on an annual basis. The Standing Committee of Foreign Secretaries provides overall monitoring and coordination, determines priorities, mobilizes resources, and approves projects and financing. The SAARC Secretariat was established in Kathmandu, Nepal in 1987. Its role is to coordinate and monitor the implementation of SAARC activities, service the meetings of the association, and serve as a channel of communication between SAARC and other international organizations. The Secretariat comprises the Secretary General, 7 directors, and the General Services staff. The Secretary General is appointed by the Council of Ministers on the principle of rotation for a non-renewable tenure of 3 years. Now we will see the specialized bodies of SAARC. SAARC Development Fund. Its primary objective is funding of project-based collaboration in social sectors such as poverty alleviation, development, etc. The SAARC Development Fund is governed by a board consisting of representatives from the Ministry of Finance of the member states. South Asian University is an international university located in India. Degrees and certificates awarded by SAU are at par with respective degrees and certificates awarded by the national universities institutions. South Asian Regional Standards Organization has its secretariat at Dhaka, Bangladesh. It was established to achieve and enhance coordination and cooperation among SAARC member states in the fields of standardization and conformity assessment, and is aimed to develop harmonized standards for the region to facilitate intra-regional trade and to have access in the global market. SAARC Arbitration Council is an intergovernmental body having its office in Pakistan, and it is mandated to provide a legal framework forum within the region for fair and efficient settlement of commercial, industrial, trade, banking, investment, and such other disputes as may be referred to by the member states and their people. So far, what are the achievements of SAARC? South Asia Preferential Trading Agreement for promoting trade amongst the member countries came into effect in 1995. South Asian Free Trade Agreement is a trade agreement confined to goods but excluding all services like information technology. Agreement was signed to reduce custom duties of all traded goods to zero by the year 2016. SAARC Agreement on Trade and Services is following the GATS Plus Positive List approach for trade and services liberalization. A SAARC University and Food Bank was established in India. An energy reserve was established in Pakistan. Now we will discuss the significance of SAARC for India. SAARC is important for promotion of India's neighborhood first policy. It can counter China through engaging Nepal, Bhutan, the Maldives and Sri Lanka in the development process and economic cooperation. SAARC can help in creation of mutual trust and peace within the region. It offers India a platform to showcase its leadership in the region by taking up extra responsibilities. Recently, India pledged $10 million towards a SAARC COVID-19 emergency fund. India also announced that it will be putting together a team of specialists for the SAARC states. SAARC can be a game changer for India's Act East policy. Now, let's see what are the challenges. It has a low frequency of meetings. It requires broad areas of cooperation that lead to diversion of energy and resources. The implementation of South Asian Free Trade Agreement has not been satisfactory as it is confined to goods excluding all services like information technology. Escalated tension and conflict between India and Pakistan have severely hampered the prospects of SAARC. The institutions like BIMSTEC may reduce the relevance of SAARC even further. Looking at the way forward. In a region increasingly targeted by Chinese investment and loans, SAARC could be a common platform to demand more sustainable alternatives for development, or to oppose trade tariffs together, or to demand better terms for South Asian labor around the world. SAARC as an organization reflects the South Asian identity of the countries historically and contemporarily. This is a naturally made geographical identity. Equally, there is a cultural, linguistic, religious and culinary affinity that defines South Asia. The potential of the organization to maintain peace and stability in the region should be explored by all the member countries. SAARC should be allowed to progress naturally, and the people of South Asia, who make up a quarter of the world's population, should be offered more people-to-people contact.
Dear viewers, in this episode we will be discussing BRICS. Let's begin with a brief introduction of BRICS. BRICS is an acronym for the grouping of the world's leading emerging economies, namely Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. The BRICS Leaders Summit is convened annually. Together, BRICS accounts for about 40% of world's population and about 30% of the GDP or the gross domestic product, making it a critical economic engine. It's an emerging investment market and a global power bloc. Now focusing on the genesis and related timeline for the formation of BRICS. The acronym BRIC was initially formulated in 2001 by economist Jim O'Neill of the Goldman Sachs in a report on growth prospects for the economies of Brazil, Russia, India, and China, which together represented a significant share of the world's population and production. In 2006, the 4 BRIC countries initiated a regular informal diplomatic coordination with annual meetings of foreign ministers at the margins of the general debate of the UN General Assembly. This successful interaction led to the decision that the dialogue was to be carried out at the level of heads of state and government in the annual summits. The first BRICS summit took place in 2009 in the Yekaterinburg city located in Russian Federation and focused on issues such as reform of the global financial architecture. South Africa was invited to join BRIC in December 2010. After which the group adopted the acronym BRICS. South Africa subsequently attended the 3rd BRICS summit in Sanya, China in March 2011. Now let's discuss the structure of BRICS. BRICS does not exist in the form of organization, but it is an annual summit between the supreme leaders of the 5 nations. The chairmanship of the forum is rotated annually among the members in accordance with the acronym, that is BRICS. BRICS cooperation in the past decade has expanded to include an annual program of over 100 sectoral meetings. The BRICS has the following objectives. It seeks to deepen, broaden, and intensify cooperation within the grouping and among the individual countries for more sustainable, equitable, and mutually beneficial development. BRICS takes into consideration each member's growth, development, and poverty objectives. Relationships among the BRICS countries are built on the respective countries' economic strengths. BRICS is emerging as a new and promising political diplomatic entity with diverse objectives, far beyond the original objective of reforming global financial institutions. The areas of cooperation among BRICS member states can be divided into three subheads, namely economic cooperation, people-to-people exchange, and political as well as security cooperation. Let's look at economic cooperation first. There are rapidly growing trade and investment flows between the BRICS countries as well as economic cooperation activities across a range of sectors. Agreements have been concluded in the areas of economic and trade cooperation, innovation cooperation, customs cooperation, strategic cooperation between the BRICS Business Council, Contingent Reserve Agreement, and the New Development Bank. These agreements contribute to the realization of shared objectives of deepening economic cooperation and fostering integrated trade and investment markets. Moving to people exchange. BRICS members have recognized the need for strengthening people-to-people exchanges and to foster closer cooperation in the areas of culture, sport, education, film, and youth. People-to-people exchanges seek to forge new friendships, deepen relations, and mutual understanding between BRICS peoples in the spirit of openness, inclusiveness, diversity, and mutual learning. Such people-to-people exchanges include Young Diplomats Forum, Parliamentarian Forum, Trade Union Forum, Civil BRICS, as well as the Media Forum. Looking at political and security cooperation. BRICS political and security cooperation is aimed at achieving peace, security, development, and cooperation for a more equitable and fair world. BRICS provides opportunities for sharing policy advice and exchange of best practices in terms of domestic and regional challenges, as well as advancing the restructuring of the global political architecture so that it is more balanced, resting on the pillar of multilateralism. BRICS is used as a driver for South Africa's foreign policy priorities, including the pursuit of African agenda and the South-South cooperation. Cooperation among member states is achieved through three tracks, namely Track 1, that is formal diplomatic engagement between the national governments, Track 2, wherein the engagement is through government-affiliated institution, example, state-owned enterprises and business councils. And Track 3 is where there is civil society and people-to-people engagement. Now let's discuss the impacts of BRICS on global institutional reforms. The main reason for cooperation to start among the BRICS nation was the financial crisis of 2008. The crisis raised doubts over the sustainability of the dollar-denominated monetary system. The BRICS called for the reform of multilateral institutions in order that they reflect the structural changes in the world economy and increasingly central role that the emerging markets play. BRICS managed to push for institutional reforms which led to the International Monetary Fund quota reform in 2010. Thus, the financial crisis had momentarily reduced Western legitimacy and briefly let the BRICS countries become agenda setters in the multilateral institutions, shifting focus towards the bank established by BRICS countries, known as the New Development Bank. At the 4th BRICS Summit in New Delhi, that was in 2012, the possibility of setting up a new development bank was considered to mobilize resources for infrastructure and sustainable development projects in BRICS and other emerging economies as well as in developing countries. During the 6th BRICS Summit in Fortaleza, that was in 2014, the leaders signed the agreement establishing the new development bank. The key achievements in the Fortaleza Declaration was that the initial authorized capital of the bank was $100 billion. The initial subscribed capital was to be $50 billion, equally shared among the founding members. The first chair of the Board of Governors was to be from Russia. The first chair of the Board of Directors was to be from Brazil. The first president of the bank was to be from India, and the headquarters of the bank were to be located in Shanghai. The NDB's key areas of cooperation are clean energy, transport, infrastructure, irrigation, sustainable urban development, and economic cooperation among the countries. The NDB functions on a consultative mechanism among BRICS members, with all the member countries possessing equal rights. Focusing on financial instrument under the BRICS, namely the Contingent Reserve Agreement. The BRICS Contingent Reserve Agreement, or the CRA, was signed in 2014 as a part of the Fortaleza Declaration at the 6th BRICS Summit. It was established in the backdrop of increasing instances of global financial crisis. The BRICS CRA aims to provide short-term liquidity support to members through currency swaps to help in mitigating balance of payment crisis situations and further strengthen financial stability. The initial total committed resources of the CRA were to be $100 billion. It would also contribute to strengthening the global financial safety net and complement existing international arrangements. Shifting focus towards the challenges ahead for the BRICS nations. The marked dominance of Big Three, that is Russia, China, and India, is a challenge for the BRICS as it moves ahead. To become a true representative of large emerging markets across the world, BRICS must become pan-continental. The BRICS will need to expand its agenda for increasing its relevance in the global order. As of now, climate change and development finance aimed at building infrastructure dominate the agenda. As BRICS moves forward, foundational principles of BRICS, that is respect for sovereign equality and pluralism in the global governance, are liable to be tested as the 5 member countries pursue their own national agendas. The military standoff between India and China, which has effectively brought to an end the naive notion that comfortable political relationship is always possible amongst the BRICS members. China's effort to co-opt nation-states, which are integral to its Belt and Road Initiative, into a broader political arrangement, has potential to cause conflict among BRICS members, especially India and China. Let's move forward to discussing the importance of BRICS for India. India can benefit from the collective strength of BRICS by the way of consultation and cooperation on economic issues of mutual interests, as well as topical global issues such as international terrorism, climate change, food and energy security, reforms of global governance institutions, etc. India remains engaged with the other BRICS countries on its NSG membership. The NDB will help India to raise and avail resources for their infrastructure and sustainable development projects. The NDB has approved its first set of loans, which include a loan of $250 million in respect of India for the multi-tranche financial facility for renewable energy financing scheme. Looking at the way forward for the BRICS. BRICS did well in the first decade to identify issues of common interest and to create platforms to address these issues. For BRICS to remain relevant over the next decade, each of its members must make a realistic assessment of the initiative's opportunities and its inherent limitations. BRICS nations need to recalibrate their approach and to commit to their founding ethos. BRICS must reaffirm their commitment to a multipolar world that allows for sovereign equality and democratic decision-making. BRICS should develop an institutional research wing along the lines of the OECD, offering solutions which are better suited to the developing world. BRICS should consider a BRICS-led effort to meet their commitments under the Paris Agreement on Climate Change and the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. For example, setting up of a BRICS Energy Alliance and an Energy Policy Institution. NDB in partnership with other development finance institutions could be a potent vehicle to finance progress towards sustainable development goals among the BRICS members. Idea of setting up a BRICS credit rating agency, the BCRA, as an alternative to Western agencies like Standard & Poor's, Moody's, etc. can be on the BRICS future agenda. That is all for now. We hope you find this video helpful. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel to keep notified about our latest videos. Thank you.
To watch our videos in Hindi, in this episode, we will be discussing the DRDO in the following structure. First, we will begin with the introduction, then mission, followed by genesis and growth, programs, roles and responsibilities, labs, and concerns associated with DRDO. And finally, we will end with the way forward. Let us begin with a brief introduction of the DRDO. DRDO is an acronym of Defense Research and Development Organization. In Hindi, it is known as Raksha Anusandhan Evam Vikas Sangathan. It is an agency under the Department of Defense Research and Development in the Ministry of Defense of the Government of India. It is charged with the military's research and development. It has its headquarters in Delhi, India. It is India's largest and most diverse research organization. Currently, Dr. G. Satish Reddy is the incumbent chairman of DRDO. Now, looking at its mission. Its vision is to empower India with cutting-edge defense technologies, to achieve self-reliance in critical defense technologies, equip our armed forces with state-of-the-art weapon systems in accordance with requirements laid down by the three services. Let us focus on the genesis and growth of the DRDO. The DRDO was formed in 1958. It was formed with the amalgamation of the then already functioning Technical Development Establishments of the Indian Army, Directorate of Technical Development and Production, Defense Science Organization. DRDO was initially a small organization with 10 establishments or laboratories. Let us have a look at some important programs of the DRDO. We begin with Project Indigo. DRDO started its first major project in surface-to-air missiles known as Project Indigo in the 1960s. Indigo was discontinued later without achieving full success. Project Indigo led to Project Devil along with Project Valiant to develop short-range SAM and ICBM in the 1970s. Project Devil itself led to the later development of the Prithvi missile under the Integrated Guided Missile Development Program in the 1980s. IGMDP was an Indian Ministry of Defense program between the early 1980s and 2007 for the development of a comprehensive range of missiles, including the Agni missile, Prithvi ballistic missile, Akash missile, Trishul missile, and Nag missile. The key measures to make DRDO effective in its functioning include the establishment of a Defense Technology Commission with the Defense Minister as its chairman. The next program under DRDO is Integrated Guided Missile Development Program. The IGMDP was the brainchild of renowned scientist Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. It was intended to attain self-sufficiency in the field of missile technology. The IGMDP formally got the approval of Indian government on July 26, 1983. The missiles developed under the IGMDP are Short-Range Surface-to-Surface Ballistic Missile Prithvi, Intermediate Range Surface-to-Surface Ballistic Missile Agni, Short-Range Low-Level Surface-to-Air Missile Trishul, Medium Range Surface-to-Air Missile Akash, Third Generation Anti-Tank Missile Nag. The IGMDP has already been covered in a mind map episode. The link for it has been provided in the description for your convenience. Now, let us focus on the roles and responsibilities of the DRDO. It is engaged in developing defense technologies covering various fields such as aeronautics, armaments, electronics, land combat engineering, life sciences, materials, missiles, and naval systems. It is intended to fulfill the mission of designing, developing, and leading the production of the state-of-the-art weapon systems, defense equipment, and sensors for Indian defense services. It also includes providing technical solutions to the services for combat effectiveness optimization and encouraging the welfare of our troops. The DRDO has a network of 52 laboratories, and some of the important labs under DRDO are as follows. Advanced Systems Laboratory. It is located in Hyderabad. The area of research is Missiles and Strategic Systems. Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics. It is located in Bengaluru. Center for Fire, Explosives and Environmental Safety. It is located in Delhi. Area of research is explosives. Combat Vehicles Research and Development. It is located in Chennai, and area of research is combat vehicles. High Energy Materials Research Laboratory, located in Pune. Area of research is high energy materials. Now we will be discussing some of the concerns associated with DRDO. The Standing Committee on Defense during 2016 and 17 noted that out of the total defense budget, the share of DRDO was a mere 5.79% in 2011 and 12, which was reduced to 5.34% in 2013 and 14. The DRDO suffers from inadequate manpower in critical areas to the lack of proper synergy with the armed forces. Even after 60 years of DRDO's inception, India still imports a large share of its defense equipment. In the period 2013 to 17, India was the largest importer of defense equipment, accounting for 12% of the global total, according to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. The Kaveri engine is running late by 16 years and the cost has escalated by about 800%. The CAG report revealed that not all technologies developed by DRDO were suitable for use by the armed forces. The three services have rejected 70% of the products developed at the Armament Research and Development Establishment, Pune, in the last 15 years, costing Rs 320 crores because the products did not meet their standard and requirement. Towards the end, following are some of the measures that going forward can make DRDO effective. P. Ramarao Committee recommendations. The committee recommended setting up a commercial arm of the organization to make it a profitable entity. This includes cutting back on delays in completing projects. Setting up of a Defense Technology Commission. DRDO former Chief V.K. Saraswat has called for the setting up of a Defense Technology Commission. Need for a bigger role for DRDO in picking production partners for products developed by the agency. DRDO should be able to select a capable partner company from the outset, from the private sector if necessary. Long-term contracts. DRDO has taken long-term contracts with Indian information technology vendors such as Tata Consultancy Services Limited, etc. to build software solutions for defense projects, shifting its strategy of awarding deals to the lowest bidders on short-term projects. to watch our videos in Hindi. In this episode, we will be discussing the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, or CSIR, in the following structure. First, we will discuss the introduction of CSIR, then organizational structure, followed by objective of CSIR, vision and strategy, awards of CSIR, global recognition of CSIR, important labs under CSIR, and finally, we will end with some of the key achievements of CSIR. Let's begin with a brief introduction. CSIR is an acronym of Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. It is the largest research and development organization in India. It was established in September 1942 and has its headquarters in Delhi, India. It has a pan-India presence and has a dynamic network of 38 national laboratories, 39 outreach centers, 3 innovation complexes, and 5 units. CSIR is funded by the Ministry of Science and Technology and operates as an autonomous body through the Societies Registration Act of 1860. CSIR covers a wide spectrum of streams, from radio and space physics, oceanography, geophysics, chemicals, drugs, genomics, biotechnology and nanotechnology to mining, aeronautics, instrumentation, environmental engineering, and information technology. CSIR provides significant technological intervention in many areas with regard to societal efforts, which include the environment, health, drinking water, food, housing, energy, farm and non-farm sectors. Now, looking at its organizational structure. The Prime Minister of India is the ex officio President and the Union Minister of Science and Technology is the ex officio Vice President of the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. If we look at its governing body, the Director General is the head of the governing body. The other ex officio members are the Finance Secretary of Expenditures. The CSIR Advisory Board is a 15-member body composed of prominent members from respective fields of science and technology. Its function is to provide science and technology inputs to the governing body. Its members' terms are of 3 years. Now, let us focus on the objective of CSIR. The objectives of the Council are scientific and industrial and applied research of national importance. The activities under it include promotion, guidance and coordination of scientific and industrial research in India, including the institution and the financing of specific researchers. Establishment and assistance to special institutions or departments of existing institutions for the scientific study of problems affecting particular industries and trade. Establishment and award of research studentships and fellowships. Utilization of the results of the research conducted under the auspices of the Council towards the development of industries in the country. Payment of a share of royalties arising out of the development of the results of research to those who are considered as having contributed towards the pursuit of such research. Establishment, maintenance and management of laboratories, workshops, institutes and organizations to further scientific and industrial research. Collection and dissemination of information in regard not only to research but to industrial matters generally. Publication of scientific papers and a journal of industrial research and development. The vision of CSIR is to pursue science that strives for global impact, the technology that enables innovation-driven industry and nurtures transdisciplinary leadership, thereby catalyzing inclusive economic development for the people of India. Let us look at some of the awards of CSIR. Shanti Swaroop Bhatnagar Prize for Science and Technology is named after the founder director of CSIR, the late Dr. Shanti Swaroop Bhatnagar. It was instituted in 1957 as the most coveted and revered prize in the field of science and technology in the country. Dr. Shanti Swaroop Bhatnagar was also the first chairman of the University Grants Commission. He was conferred with the Order of the British Empire. He was knighted in 1941 and elected Fellow of the Royal Society of London in 1943. He was also awarded the Padma Vibhushan in 1954. Now let us discuss the global recognition of CSIR. According to Shimago Institution's rankings, CSIR is recognized to be among the international leaders in the knowledge creation. It has been ranked 37th in the world amongst the government institutions in the world, according to the prestigious Shimago Institution's ranking of 2021. In terms of intellectual property, CSIR is a leader in terms of filing and securing patents worldwide amongst its peers in publicly funded research organizations in the world. CSIR is granted 90% of the US patents to any publicly funded Indian R&D organization. On an average, CSIR files about 200 Indian patents and 250 foreign patents per year. About 13.86% of CSIR patents are licensed, a number which is above the global average. Some of the important labs under CSIR are as follows. Institute of Genomics and Integrative Biology situated in New Delhi. Institute of Microbial Technology situated in Chandigarh. Central Leather Research Institute situated in Chennai. Central Drug Research Institute situated in Lucknow. Indian Institute of Petroleum situated in Dehradun, and the National Aerospace Laboratories situated in Bengaluru. We will be ending today's episode with key achievements of CSIR. And there are many key achievements of CSIR, for example, in the field of strategic sector. Drishti Transmission Meter is an indigenous, innovative and cost-effective visibility measuring system that provides information to pilots on visibility for safe landing and takeoff precautions and is suitable for all airport categories. CSIR National Aerospace Laboratories made a significant contribution by developing indigenous head-up display for Indian Light Combat Aircraft Tejas. In the field of energy and environment, Central Mechanical Engineering Research Institute lab in Durgapur designed the solar tree, which occupies a minimum space to provide clean power. The Central Electrochemical Research Institute in Karaikudi, Tamil Nadu, has set up the first indigenous Li-ion fabrication facility that has applications in defense, solar powered devices, railways, and other high-end usages. In the field of agriculture, CSIR, in collaboration with ICAR, developed an improved bacterial blight-resistant Samba Mashuri variety. Rice cultivar Muktashri, a rice variety, has been developed which restricts assimilation of arsenic within the permissible limit. In the field of healthcare, a program called Genomics and Other Omics Technologies for Enabling Medical Decision has been developed by the CSIR, which provides a platform of disease genomics to solve clinical problems. Vaccine is developed and commercialized for John's disease affecting sheep, goat, cow and buffalo so as to immunize them and increase milk and meat production. Plasma Gelsolin diagnostic kit for premature births and sepsis-related deaths is developed to diagnose premature birth and sepsis. In the field of food and nutrition, double fortified salt with iodine and iron having improved properties developed and tested for addressing anemia in people. Shield Scanner, a new technological invention by CSIR Central Electronics Engineering Research Institute to detect the level of milk adulteration and adulterants in 45 seconds at the cost of 10 paise, thereby putting adulterators in the milk trade on notice. In the field of water, heliborne transient electromagnetic and surface magnetic technique based aquifer mapping carried out in 6 different geological locations in Rajasthan, Bihar, Karnataka, Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu. In the field of waste to wealth, non-toxic radiation shielding materials utilizing industrial waste like red mud from aluminium industries and fly ash from thermal power plants developed, which has been accredited by Atomic Energy Regulatory Board for application in diagnostic X-ray rooms. In the field of traditional knowledge digital library, CSIR has established the first ever traditional knowledge digital library in the world. It is accessible in 5 international languages: English, German, French, Japanese and Spanish. In the field of genome sequencing, CSIR has completed the sequencing of the human genome in 2009. That's all for today. We'll meet you in the next video. Till then, stay tuned and stay updated. To watch our videos